One of the things that the teacher decided in the science department is when the directive was given to prepare for the Keystone, they were not going to sit back and hear what other people wanted them to do. What they said is, if we understand that we have to prepare for this test, and of course testing is important in many ways, but we're also committed to good, strong science instruction. And we firmly believe that we need to reevaluate our instruction, to look at our student achievement and look at what works better. So if we're going to do this, if we have to do it, we're going to do it well, and we're going to do it first. They took the lead on that. And that was really exciting because they said, we're not in this for compliance for a test. We're in this, we're committed to science teachers. We're scientists, we collaborate, and we want our students to do well, and this is important. So they looked at the global picture in a very unique way and said, we want to be the leaders. We want to say, here's, as scientists, as science teachers, with our expertise in instruction, here's what we think we should do, and be the leaders in this movement. And that idea and that perspective is what really changed the way they did things in their classroom, because the discussion moved away from why didn't the kids do this to how can we help support our kids in learning this material and understanding science. What can we do? What are the things we do well, and what are our challenges? And if we try something new, we might fail, but that's okay. We'll talk about it and we'll learn from it. So that perspective, I think, was a very unique perspective for the science department, and a very smart one. I don't know if they realized they were doing it at first, but it worked out really well because they were always ahead of the curve and leading these ideas. So they had their mark and they were respected for their expertise in not only the content, the eligible content and the science content, but also as educators and in instruction. So it was a unique perspective and one that really served them well.
We were introduced with, here is how you want to do science. In a classroom, you want to do science as a scientist would. And we were talking, it kind of lucked out the fact that the structure of the Keystone exam is practice-based. It's not content-based. And having been geared towards that, we were in an advantage.
We are scientists. I mean, all of us are trained as scientists. That we all have in common. And so what was really wonderful about it was that it is based on the practices of science. So it's not about content. And so we all had something that we could do together. And it translates into, we're trying to teach kids how to be scientists, and so it all fits.
I think the fact that it was teacher-driven was huge, that kind of we almost had, not to say the power to do it, but the fact that we took ownership of it, and the development of that was not from an administrator, not from the state, but we knew that the Keystone exam was coming and kind of preemptively decided, why don't we make sure that everything matches with it? And that helped us to cut out things that we may have thought were necessary, and with the time crunch of the Keystone exam, it also helped us with, definitely with coming in with pacing, and we were able to come up with a document that said by the end of this marking period, you should be at this point, and you need to emphasize a specific concept that we've known that students have struggled with. So I think the time piece was a big thing for a lot of teachers, veteran teachers and new teachers, so that it was, well, I really like this topic, I would like to spend 2 weeks on it. Well, you don't really have 2 weeks now if you want to get in the 38 concepts, so it kind of helped us streamline, I guess.
We were supported by an administration that gave us the time to follow our lead from what we learned. Like, it wasn't like someone else put a judgment on it. They came to us and said, what have you learned? And as you were saying before, it was the Academy for Leadership in Science was that. And so we were supposed to learn how to be leaders in this change in science instruction. And so then our administration came in and said, fine, go ahead and figure out how to lead. And we were given time to do that. And we practiced, and it wasn't always easy, and it wasn't always not frustrating. That's a double negative, but you know what I mean. And we got better.
I think our success is because everything that we do is teacher-driven. You know, we aren't given an agenda, a list of things that we have to accomplish by the administration. The administration has chosen, and it's appreciated, to trust our expertise in the subjects that we teach. And the only directive really that we got was that we need to focus on student achievement. So we have been able to make our own decisions and figure out how best to accomplish that. And no master plan, just one thing led to another, and here we are.
And we celebrate people's successes. I mean, we're having success with the kids, and that's not about testing. That's about what's going on in the classroom. And it's really neat to get into a room with people who are saying, this is what we did in the class this week, and look at what these kids did. And isn't this really exciting? And it's made it more positive. And it's you feel like you're not that old teacher locked away in your own room alone. Not anymore. You can't get away with that anymore. And it took us a while to get comfortable with that, but I think the expectation is there now because we think about it differently, because we know we're better when we have that kind of collaboration.
I think the number one thing is you start with a qualified staff. You start with good people and you hire the best folks you can, and then you give them the authority and the ability to be able to make changes and make recommendations for change. It's a matter of using those internal resources that you have to move the program forward. They're teaching the subject. They understand what the challenges are in terms of the topics and in terms of the students, and they understand what works. And if you start out with a top-down, here's the initiative, here's what we're going to do, the natural reaction of many teachers is to say, well, did they consider this? Had they thought of that? They want us to do this, but they haven't really thought it through. So if you want it thought through, start with the teachers. Start with bright people and give the problem to them and let them work on it.